Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Courtside with Coach Crist show. I'm Greg Crist. That is Dave Gorby, my faithful sidekick. Gore, we haven't been together for a while, man. It's been a month or so.
It feels longer than a month.
Yep, it does. I missed you.
Missed you too, Coach. Shoot, man.
Yeah, we got to get back on the roll here and get steady again.
I was just, I had some Facebook memories popped up what we were doing a year ago, and we kind of stepped off the gas pedal a little bit.
Yes, we did. We was walling right up in the middle of it then. Yeah, we done slacked up a little bit. Before we go any further, let's do what we always do at the beginning of each and every show, and that is go out to our one eye in the sky, our Chopper 1 NRN weather and traffic update guy, Mr. Muggy McLeod. And I think Muggy's on the road and moving quickly tonight, so we got to catch up with him, find out what's going on, and then we'll let him go. So, Muggy, are you there?
Yes, sir, Coach. Good evening. This is Muggy McLeod with the NRN Chopper 1 One Eye in the Sky weather and traffic report.
All right.
So long, I got it all mixed up.
That chopper's it's clanging tonight, man. It's loud.
Yes, sir, Coach. I am flying along at a high rate of speed with my sidekick and co-pilot, Misty Raines. Say hello, Misty.
Hello, Misty. I didn't hear Misty say anything.
Well, Coach, she's a little shy around the microphone, apparently, and you didn't hear anything because she didn't say anything. We are currently cruising through Scottsville, West Virginia. Okay, so that would be between Williamstown, the home of Scott Sorrow, who has still never beaten a Catholic or private school for a state championship in basketball, and the home of Scott Ludwig, former Glenville State pioneer and restauranteer, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we are flying along, just passing Tiger Creek. I don't know why, that sign just happened to show up on the radar. And we are heading way south past Charleston, where unfortunately it is downwind from Lincoln County. So hold your nose. Anyway.
Okay.
Those U-Pike Bears bring home a championship from their first year in the AAC. That is if they don't choke a big one.
That's
anyway,
right.
Yes, sir. So we were going to stop and have dinner at Scott Ludwig's restaurant, but we don't know him like you guys do, since we were never invited to attend the show that was recorded there. So even though I did root for him in the 80s.
You were out flying around, so we couldn't get you in at a table.
Yes, sir, Coach. Well, there is an adult bookstore with a very bright spotlight that we could have easily seen to land the Chopper 1 NRN One Eye in the Sky helicopter.
I can't believe Crow didn't call him 35 times that week.
Yeah, we don't understand. We'll have to talk to Crow about that. He's our setup guy. He makes plenty of phone calls on the way. Missed you.
He apparently left out.
Yeah. He did.
Yes, he did. Well, anyway, kind of short on funny jokes and all that tonight. Usually I'm full of them, as you're aware.
Yep.
However, I did hear a funny one today, but I cannot repeat it. And that's something to do with something about being tight. I don't know. Anyway. So, we're heading into the home stretch of winter. Let me get on to the weather a little bit.
All right.
Heading into the home stretch. And this weather report is brought to you by the I-79 rest area that we are just now passing. And, you pull in there and mention hearing this spot on the air, and you will get a free overnight parking stage between two tractor trailers if you'd like.
Oh, nice. That's a pretty good deal.
Yes, sir. And very nice, clean restrooms just north of Rockport.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
So anyway, Coach, as the spring moves into to our area closer these days, that was a poor use of the English language.
Yep, that was.
Anyway, we are going out of this chilly air today, going into some warm temperatures tomorrow, but I'm sure before the Easter break hits, we will see some more crappy weather.
Oh, yeah.
Usually.
Yep.
And as far as traffic goes, it's pretty mild out here today. There's no victory parades for any many of the local high schools, since none of them would hire our favorite coach, they all seem to have just kind of bit the bullet through here. Parkersburg, Parkersburg South, and so forth. So, they kind of got what they deserve.
That's
so
right.
There's no parades, no high traffic volume of any kind of. Then I see 2 tractor trailers driving at 55 to 55 and a half in both lanes. And but we will zoom right over them and get on past Rockport, where we get down to Chemical Valley.
Huh.
All right, Coach. Well, I don't have anything really funny to say. I'm just trying to concentrate and hold on for dear life as Misty guides us through the dark. It's darker than, it's kind of darker out here than, Corby's neck underneath all that hair.
Yeah. Is it, you're not getting any evil looks, even though it's dark? The evil looks are piercing through the night by any chance?
Well, Coach, funny you should mention that. I'm getting one right now, but her soft red cheeks are glowing brightly from the glow of the dashboard and her iPhone. Funny how she can fly this helicopter while looking at her iPhone.
Yes, it is. I had to shut the helicopter off a little bit. It was a little bit too loud, man.
Stare down happened. That's what happened.
We put the silencer. We put the silencer on the helicopter.
Okay, well, I'm sure you'll get many calls wondering, concerned about our safety since you just kind of shut the engine off to our helicopter.
Yeah, I probably will get some calls. Make sure you're okay.
Yes, sir. Well, maybe we'll give you some live updates from the Rough and Rowdy boxing match tonight, where your nephew, Jared Crist, is boxing in the main event.
Yep.
And he will by far, though, Coach, be the best-dressed boxer at the event.
No question about that.
And he will be the most rested since he was sleeping on the finest bamboo sheets money could buy.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He should be ready to go.
Okay, Coach. Well, once again, good talking to you. It's been a while. I've almost reached retirement age since the last time we spoke.
Yep, it's been a while.
But anyway, you guys have a wonderful show and a wonderful night. And this has been Muggy McLeod and my talkative sidekick, Misty Rains, with your One Eye in the Sky NRN Chopper One Traffic and Weather Report. Over and out, Coach.
Over and out, Muggy. Appreciate you. Tell Misty we love her and we love talking to her.
Yes. Yes, she gave a friendly nod your way, Coach.
All right, y'all be careful out there.
Yes, sir. Over and out.
All right, over and out. Bye-bye. So what Muggy was referring to there, Gorb, I have a nephew, still lives at home with his dad.
Okay.
So his dad, this past week, spent some time up in Morgantown with us.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fussing and complaining because he had given his son's going to fight in a Rough and Rowdy or Tough Man, whatever it is.
Well, it is Tough Man season right now. Yeah.
So he's fighting in that. And he asked his dad if his dad would get him a pair of, he needed a pair of shoes.
Okay.
I guess some kind of boxing shoes or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he gives him the card and lets him get on Amazon. He should get on there and order something. Well, he went ahead while I was doing it, and he went ahead and ordered him some shoes. He ordered him some something else, maybe. I don't know what else.
Okay.
But also some $100 bamboo sheets for his bed.
Wow.
So Brother Ed is complaining about his son running up the Amazon bill, and then the son's complaining to Muggy about his brother being a cheap skeet, if you will. So big battle down there in the Crist house in South Charleston. So.
Sure. Good luck at Tough Man,
that's
kid.
Right.
You know?
That's right. Yeah. So Jared is fighting tonight. In fact, we were going to go, but we're heading down Pikeville tomorrow, so we decided we wouldn't go to that one tonight. But yeah, he is a tough guy. He likes to fight. He's been a fighter for a long time, and I'm sure he'll do just fine.
Usually, when they do those, Rough and Rowdy, Tough Man, the first night is the fun night.
Yeah.
I mean, second night, you actually kind of get some guys that know what they're doing a little bit. But yeah, that first night's the first fun night, I think.
Yeah,
so.
they actually like train and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but hopefully they'll get that ironed out.
Yep.
But we had to shut Muggy's helicopter off. It was a little bit too loud. The engine, he wanted to get the muffler fixed or something.
Well, I mean, the stuff overheats on the
And it's been a while since he's been up,
Yeah,
we ain't had him on for quite some time. So we appreciate Muggy doing that for us, and we wish him all the best and all the safety out there. Like I said, it's been a while since we've been here. I want to remind everybody to like and subscribe. Subscribe to us on YouTube and like us, give us a thumbs up there. Facebook, same way. That always helps us. The more likes, views we get, the better it is. So we want to make sure we tell you.
And that's on the New River Network page and the Courtside with Coach Crist page.
Right.
So.
Yep. It's on both of them. So make sure you get on there and check it out. Even if you don't watch regularly, don't want to watch, you can go ahead and subscribe whether you want to watch
absolutely.
or not.
Yeah.
It just helps us. So anyway, haven't seen you for a while. Basketball season's wrapped up, and that moves us on to what we call our Hell Yeah and our Hell No segment. And I've got my Hell Yells and Hell No's. My Hell Yells, the court decision ruling that the NCAA could not interfere with these NIL setups and all those types of things. And I say that's a hell yeah because I think that, and we talked about this last night, we'll talk about it again tonight, the NCAA is attempting to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Okay. It's already got out.
Yeah.
And you can't get it back in there.
Right.
And they're trying to regulate everything. Well, that was the original, what the original court stuff was. You're telling these guys that they can't make money on their name, image, likeness, and you can't do that. You know? And so they lost that, of course. Then they start doing it. Now they step in and try to start making regulations on it. You can only make this much. You can do this. You can't do that. And, they were trying to regulate it after it was passed beyond regulating.
Right.
And so I was glad the court ruled that way. Now they can get down to the business of figuring out what to do and how to get it all straightened out. And that's what we're going to talk to our guest about tonight. That'll be one of the topics, just trying to figure all this mess out and what goes on from here. And, I was glad to see it because I felt like, I feel like the NCAA for years has, just they had a cash cow, and that was their football players and these athletes, college athletes. And they've just been making billions.
I mean, I think it kind of started, and maybe I'm wrong, but it wasn't like when NBC gave Notre Dame money way back.
Yeah, that kind of
like what year do you think that was?
Oh gosh, it's been 15 years ago, probably, at least.
I was gonna say sometime in the 80s.
May have been. Yeah, it may have been. I don't know. It may have been that far back. Yeah, that kind of got things going. Yeah, and then you had the Longhorn Network pop up, and
because at that time, not every team, we weren't. Everybody, you wasn't on anything.
Right.
Just a couple times a year, if that. And Notre Dame football was the one that was on every week.
Yep. And Notre Dame started this way back when I was a kid. There was a guy by the name of Lindsey Nelson, who always wore a plaid jacket, sports broadcaster. He would come on Saturday morning, and it was the Notre Dame Fighting Irish football show or something.
Yeah.
And they would recap last week's game, talk to the players and everything. That's the first time that ever happened. And that was a long time ago. That was back in the 70s, late 70s, when all that started. So Notre Dame's benefited from it for years. But yeah, I think when people, I think it also started, what brought a lot of attention to it was the kind of money these coaches were making.
Well, yeah.
And everybody sat back going, wait a minute, you got a coach making $5 million a year, and he's coaching players that can't go to the store and buy a hamburger, or the coach can't give him a ride down the street and get him a soda. And that's what I think's got the wheels turning. And then the court decision basically said, you can't prevent them from making money on their name, image, and likeness, and they're working and blah blah blah. And so this ruling prevents them from stepping in now, making a bunch of regulations to try and control all of it once it's out of control. And again, we'll get Cliff Hill to talk more about this. He's very well versed in the subject and knows a lot more about it than I do, but it's like he said last night, it's turned into the wild, wild west.
Well, yeah, and that's why they're like, man, we need to control. So you're saying if they would just had it, the name, image, and likeness, but had some regulations to it, then
I don't think
it would have been fine.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be where we're at
now. They can't, they let it go
right
as soon as it opened,
And I said this last night too, that the NCAA sat back and let it happen in front of them, and instead of being proactive and embracing it and getting it done right, they were reactive.
Yeah,
they acted like it wasn't going to happen. Then when it did happen, they're like, "Oh no, what are we going to do now?" Then they jump in and start trying to regulate, and it's too late now. So what needs to happen, I think, at this point is everybody needs to, once the dust settles, because it's going to be crazy for a while. There'll be some sort of regulation at some point where they get it squared away, where it's more, because
is it going to be like when some of these big schools, like donors, like they're going to start running out of money?
Well, I don't know about that. I think it'll be when some of these people file lawsuits about a level playing field, about fairness, and the fact that not everybody can generate that kind of money. And I think again, we talked about this last night. It's gonna be crazy here for a while until they figure this out, what to do. I don't know what the answers are, but I'm sure contracts will be involved. These conference realignments is going to have an impact on it.
Yeah.
And, and I suggested to Cliff last night that, everybody involved, not just the SEC and the Big Ten, because they're the ones that's in control of everything.
Right.
But, they're going to be better off by including everyone, the ACC and the Big 12, because they're going to make more money if they include everyone, rather than blocking those people out.
Right.
So I think there's got to be something done to make it more equitable, make it more fair. Otherwise, it's just going to be, you're going to have the same, 10 teams every year that are in the playoff, and people are going to be like, well, we're done with this.
Yes.
We're not going to watch this, And so I think they can realize that. And I have my own feelings, too. I think it's going to be more like an NFL structure. I think is what's going to happen. Because basically that's what, they're getting paid.
You're talking like a salary cap and
have
all
a salary
that.
cap. And work out, a minimum, a base salary for every player, so that some are not getting, some don't make anything while others are making millions. They need to fix that, obviously. And but just like I said last night, your best players are going to make the most money.
Hey, I don't know why this reminded me. Did you see like the Players Association like report cards of each team that came out? Like, did you see the Browns?
I did not.
Okay, there was like 12 categories, and they gave them F through or A through F grade, and I don't know. It was just it was really interesting. Like it was talking about the facilities, strength coaches, the coach itself, how they handled players' families. And I thought it was really interesting. The Bears got like they're 10th out of the 32 teams on their grade. Oh, cool. Steelers are one of the worst. Yeah. Wow. Now Tomlin got an A on his grade, but like
Rooney,
a lot of the others is like F. Like, I mean, it was like, I think one was like cafeteria, and then they had another category of food availability. Maybe like they were talking, they don't feel like they're getting the right. I guess they're just getting fed junk food. I don't know.
Nutrition.
Yeah.
How the Browns?
I don't know. I didn't see them.
I'll have to go look.
Yeah. It just came out. Yeah, it's something I guess the NFL Players Association has.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I never seen it before.
Maybe we can get that list and get on here and we'll just hash it out one day and talk about it. That'd be fun. I hadn't seen it. I did see where they you was talking about Pittsburgh. Rooney was, I think, picked as the worst ownership or something, the worst treated people the worst, something like that. I didn't read the whole story, but I did read some of that. That might have been where that came from. So yeah. But anyway, this NIL thing and all this, I think it's going to be crazy for the next couple of years. And again, we can talk to Cliff tonight about it and see what he thinks. And he's got some good insight to it. We talked a lot last night about it, and he's got some good insight as he helps these kids generate this stuff. The other was my boys down in Pikeville. The Bears won their first round tournament game tonight, and they will play again tomorrow night. So we're going to head down to Kingsport, Tennessee tomorrow morning and watch them play tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully they'll win, and they'll be in the championship Saturday. And that'll be a big hell yeah come next week if they happen to win that tournament. So they're the second seed. They're 23-6 now. Got a good team, and they took care of business tonight. So it'll be fun to watch. Watch them tomorrow, and hopefully they can keep on rolling.
Yeah.
Of course, my son coaches there. That's why I mentioned that. My Hell Nolls. I got 2 Hell Nolls.
Okay.
One Hell Noll is Midland Trail, men's basketball. had a great regular season, got upset in the first round of the sectionals, and they are finished just like that. They had a good season. They played a team I think they've beaten twice, maybe handily once, and they got upset at home the other night, and that ended their season. So that's a big bummer. The other hell no is the Oak Hill Red Devils did the same thing.
Yeah.
Although I don't think they were favored in their game. You could tell me that, but Woodrow knocked them out in the first round as well. So both of our local teams here, outski.
Yeah, it's been a difficult season. I think what were we? I don't even know where we maybe 8-13 or something like that. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
I kind of thought we beat the teams that we should have beat. Those first 5 games, man, that we could easily been 5-0, and we started 1-4, and kind of just
hard to rebound.
Yeah, it was hard to rebound, and it's not that I don't think the kids didn't play hard. I thought most nights they definitely did. Now South Charleston was a little bit different story.
Right.
I mean, South Charleston played pretty good. I think Woodrow's playing their best ball of the season right now too. Yeah. They got those 3 guards with Redfern, and then the 2 sophomores, Hawthorne and Dillon. I mean, that's a pretty good combo. So South Charleston they're big. They're big. I didn't get to watch we didn't get to play the G-Dub game. That's another top team that's in the region. So it's going to be interesting how our region plays out. But I do think Woodrow's playing on all cylinders right now. But man, Trail, I knew this probably been Curtis's best team he's had. Really, I thought the teams he had when I was at Fayetteville, he had some pretty good teams in. It was just we had some. We were pretty good. I mean, I'm not trying to knock on that, but I thought he had some good teams in. But that's hard, to have a good season like that and lose the first game.
Yeah, especially when you get upset by somebody you've beaten and probably a little better than they are. But it's why you play the games. Anything can happen like that, and it does happen. It happens to all of us. If you stay in it long enough, it happens. I guarantee you. And someday you'll be on the other side of that. You'll pull the upset. So that's just the way the old ball bounces, as they say. What about your hell yeahs and hell no's?
That way, Coach, I wasn't even
caught you off guard.
Yeah,
huh?
Caught me off guard. We haven't done this for a while. Wasn't even thinking.
I know one we discussed before we come on the air.
All right, go ahead.
As a hell no.
Well, go ahead.
Was the WVU men's and women's basketball teams.
Yeah, I haven't. Of course, I've been busy with our Oak Hill games, and I've helped Darren fill in. I did the game last night on New River Network, so I haven't really had a lot of opportunities to watch the men. I did watch Saturday, Iowa State, when, man, it seemed like, they did so good to get. They were right there within the game with 8 minutes to go, and then just the wheels fell off.
Yep.
And
they had a 1-point lead and gave up a 14-0 run.
The weekend before, I watched the Baylor game, and I thought they were doing good. They established Jesse early in that game, trying to feed him down low, and that was they had pretty good. They scored like 90 points, or 80 some points, but the problem was Baylor scored 90 some points.
Yeah, it seems like when their defense is clicking a little bit, their offense is horrible, and then vice versa. I went to the UCF game, which was the 3 games back.
Okay,
and WVU and watched them, and the first thing caught my attention was they played a zone. Just about the whole game. They started off with a man, switched to a zone, played the whole game.
They did that against Iowa State.
Same thing against Iowa State. Very effective. held the scoring down.
What?
And in the UCF game, UCF fell right into their play. They started shooting threes left and right. They ended up 9 of 38 from a 3-point line, and WVU beat them by 10. But it's like I said last night again too. If you look at the stats, WVU shot 50% from the 3-point line, 49% from 2. You would have thought, and they were 9 for 38. You would have thought we killed them. but we only won by 10. And then the Iowa State game, again, we played that zone and did pretty well with it. We just couldn't score. Our offense just died, and we couldn't score.
I didn't watch. Who do we? This is terrible. Like, who do we lost Monday in overtime, didn't we?
Lost to Kansas State Monday.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't watch the game.
Again, we were were down big in that one and made a comeback. We were down 20 and made a comeback, and actually took the lead and got into Raekwon Battle had a great game. And this is what I took from that game. And again, I talked about it already last night, but Raekwon Battle was balling, and we quit getting him the ball. The last 2 minutes of the game, regular, and then the first 3 minutes of the overtime, he never touched the ball once, never had a shot. And he was, at that time, he was 4 for 6 from the 3-point line, and was shooting well from the floor. He finally touched it in overtime, 2 straight trips down the floor. He hit threes and got us right back in it. So he ended up 6 for 8 from a 3-point line, but he just didn't get the ball any. We also missed foul shots. We should have made that. We could have won the game if we'd have made some in regulation. So we missed foul shots. We didn't play very good defense at all. I don't know what it is. We've been talking about it. Daryl Prue and I talk about it every week, and it's just hard to put a finger on. I mean, it's not that. There's some athletes, there's some talent.
Well, I mean, like how they score points, I definitely think they could play a little bit, but they got to have some mix of some guys that can dog you a little bit, and I don't think we have that. Obviously, it just seems like when Jesse has to go out because he only plays about 5 minutes at a time, and that's just about stamina, and that's is what it is. But or he's in foul trouble. Like, we struggle to rebound the ball, and and you think of, and don't get me wrong, Jesse's been we can't fault that injury he had where he was out for a month, but Jesse's been a solid pickup for us, but when we picked him up, we had 3 big guys that we could rotate in there, and
all 3 were different kind of players.
And Jimmy, of course, Wagee got in trouble there this past week, but Jimmy Bell's been playing, Wagee's been playing. Unfortunately, Conquo hasn't been playing at all for UNC. But I mean, I think that was obviously a downturn picking up Jesse Edwards.
Yep, you're right, and. He gets bullied a lot, too, I've noticed. He really gets pushed around a lot. He's just not big enough, physically big enough. He's tall enough, but he's just not big enough. So, any others? You got any hell yes? Man. Come on, you come up with one.
I've played golf 5 times.
There you go.
Well, the funny thing is I've never played in February. I think the earliest is like late March. And, I've been playing and, trying to de-stress a little bit. I've been at it since the start of August, and I just felt like it was time.
Are you doing track this year?
Yeah, I'm doing track, but man,
you're a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, but George and Dan do a great job, so I'm not gonna stress.
All right, let's get us a quick break in here. We need to get a break in, and we'll bring our special guest on, Mr. Cliff Hill, talk about NIL and high school scholarship offers and money and all that kind of stuff. He's got a lot of good insights. Again, we talked to him last night. He was a great guest last night. He had a lot of good stuff, really interesting, entertaining, and informative. And we look forward to talking to him here in just a few minutes. So we'll take a break. We'll get him on the phone, and we shall return after these messages. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be back.
Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network. See hard-hitting wrestling action from today's rising stars in independent wrestling. If you are a wrestling fan of any generation, let us introduce you to the hottest wrestling promotion in West Virginia. You can also join a live show at the Crossroads Mall. Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network.
Welcome back to the Courtside with Coach Crist show. I'm Greg Crist. That is Dave Gorby. We're coming to you live tonight from McGuffin's Mystery Hole out on Gatewood Road. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We know it's been a while since Dave and I have done a show together, but we're getting back on track now. We've made a promise to ourselves we're going to get back at it.
This is something de-stress season for me.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, golf and Courtside.
There you go. All right, we're up at a point in time in the show when we welcome our special guest, and we do have a special guest tonight that we think you're going to be really interested in. His name is Cliff Hill. He's I think, former coach, teacher, whatever. I know he coached a lot. He now handles and helps high school athletes with NIL, name, image, and likeness, for those of you who don't know what that is. Also with scholarships, offers, and that sort of thing. He kind of guides them through all that process. And praise be to him because, the way this thing is today, obviously these kids are going to need help. I mean, they need help with this stuff. It's got to be overwhelming to some of them, and we appreciate him doing this. Cliff, thank you for joining us tonight, my friend.
Oh, you're very welcome. It'll be fun.
Tell the folks right off the bat here, just tell them essentially, this is what I do.
Okay, so what I do, I talk and work with kids that are trying to get Division I scholarships. A lot of my kids already have scholarships when they come to me, and what I try to do is promote them and get them as many possible options as they can have. And I try to navigate them through this recruiting process because it has changed dramatically. And I give them steps they need to take at 9th grade, steps they need to take at 10th grade, and all throughout the whole thing. And then in the instance that an NIL is up, I help them do the things that they need to do to maximize their NIL, their name, image, and likeness. And that is where they would get paid.
Okay. Do you, I was thinking about this last night after we got off the air. Here where we're at, we're in Oak Hill. And, I know Morgantown, of course, is a lot bigger, so probably a little more attractive. But do you have people or I mean, I know you're not the only person who does this. There's too many people here that need help. But do you have folks that you represent from a bunch of different states, or do you kind of localize it or keep it in one area or one region, or how do you do that? And if somebody here is looking for that help, where can they go to find that help?
So I do it in a bunch of different states, and not all of my kids are at big schools. And there's a couple kids that I work with that are at really small schools, and they want to stay at those small schools. They're not looking to go to the big schools. So that I can respect that.
Right.
There's a lot of different services, and you have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. Admittedly, I'm pretty selective with who I work with, but a lot of services will make big promises that are just not true.
Right.
Now, there's nothing wrong with going Division II or Division III. That's probably as much fun or more fun as a college experience as Division I at this point.
Yep.
But a lot of kids get a hold of me through people that they know that I've worked with, and then I've had a couple coaches contact me about kids, and it's kind of odd, and I've not reached out to any kids yet, so they're finding me somehow.
All right. Yeah, so I was wondering. I know you said you don't necessarily, go out and advertise and all that sort of thing, but I would think that with the demand for this, and it's not something you think about. I mean, it's just not. I never even thought about it. The demand for it has to be sky high. I mean, I would think. Even in a state like ours, a small state with smaller schools and not nearly as many, I guess, high potential athletes, I'm still guessing there's a big demand in a place like this. I would think that the demand for this is just out the roof.
Well, there is. And here's the problem with it. You have so many people that are making so false of promises
just trying
that
to make
nobody
money.
knows. Yeah, just trying to make money.
Right.
And so people don't know, if they should do it or shouldn't do it. But there's really some easy, simple steps and things that you should be doing. And it really can equalize coming from a small place or a big place. You know, there's a certain athlete that does get recruited because they're 4-star, 5-star, upper 3-star. Everybody knows about them.
Right.
But everybody else is in the same basket. And I'll be honest, I work with kids that are pretty highly rated. And it is amazing to me. It's such a closed system within this college stuff. Like you have to work to get in with it. And like I've said before, I'll have them contact 60 schools, but I'll contact these coaches sometimes with a 4-star kid, and they're even hard to talk to. So I don't know how the days of sitting back and waiting for somebody to come recruit you, if that happens, you're very fortunate. Yeah. You've done something very noticeable.
Yeah. Yep. So they got to learn to market themselves and get out there.
That's correct.
So what?
And social media is a big part of that.
Okay, so you and I'm gonna kind of try to write this down so we can talk about it some more later. But you would suggest that they use the social media to basically advertise themselves.
Yeah, and they need to start as early as possible. They need to start trying to contact schools that they're interested in the 9th grade. They need to have a list of all the position coaches of whatever position they play, the director of personnel, the recruiting coordinator, and even the head coach at 60 different schools. And this sounds like a lot of work, but it is time consuming, but it's not as hard as going to the gym and, all those things. So you start that early. You start like an introduction. You fill out the recruiting questionnaires. Mm-hmm. You try to get as many of these coaches to follow you on Twitter and Instagram, but I find Twitter works the best. Once they follow you back, you can start DMing the coaches to where, you can maybe send them an introductory letter. You can send them your huddle tape. There's certain things with your huddle tape you should do. And then after your 10th grade season, they can really start reaching out to you. And that's when it kind of changes. But if you can avoid it, you don't want to wait till you're already past that. Right. You don't want to get to your senior year and say, I have no scholarships.
Right.
I need to start this process now.
Right. I know a lot of the kids, I mentioned last night my son coaches college basketball in NAIA level. And one of the things he was telling me that really frustrates them is, he'll get emails from kids but it'll be pretty much after the recruiting season is over and they've been left out. And he says, they're waiting on that D1 offer or whatever, and they don't get anything. So then all of a sudden they're desperate and they start emailing us trying to get us to, give them an invite or watch some film or whatever. And he said it's so hard by that time because you're pretty much wrapped everything up, And he said they don't understand that, it's difficult after they've wrapped up their recruiting to open it back up to to somebody they don't even know, And,
that's right. And really, I think one of the most important time periods is the summer going before your junior year, between sophomore, junior year, all those summer camps.
Right.
Those are very important because, you get there, you get to perform and compete in front of the coaches. They take your 40 time, height, weight, all these things. And honestly, you can look around and say, well, I belong here or I don't belong here. And then that gives you time to work your craft, to try to get stronger, get faster, all that. But it may put you in a position to say, okay, I might not need to be in the Big 12. I may need to look at, a different conference. So, and it is a business now. It is a business, and there's not a lot of luck involved in it, and it is a lot of marketing because, as we see with this transfer portal, there's kids that start at small schools that end up at the biggest schools. Right. And if they had done the process and been marketed better and had better relationships and things like that, they would have probably started out at a higher level.
Right, so. Been there to begin with. Yep. I know another thing, and I want to move on to something else here you talked about last night. Another thing my son said frustrates them is the coaches. He said we get coaches calling us all the time about players that aren't ready to play at our level. and he said they insist on, and then they get upset with us because we don't take them or whatever. And he said that gets really frustrating too. So again, I think it's more important. And, I've said this for years, even about, when I was coaching, I said, the kids know, now the parents, mom and dad may be mad because he's not playing a lot, but he knows why. He knows why he's not playing. And
and here's the thing, if the parents try to push all of this onto the coaches, that it's their responsibility to try to help their kids get recruited. Right. Well, the coach usually has 40 to 100 kids. So that's why the things that I'm saying, the coach is going to do none of it. Right. This is all things that you would do for yourself.
Right. Yeah, and they need to understand that, because I heard that a lot too myself. That they expected the coaches to do those things, and you got enough on your plate as it is, and realistically, other than having a kid play college, and you say, well, I coached that kid in high school, that's about all you get out of it, So it's not something they're diving in to do. You mentioned last night that one of the, or if not the most important thing, was that GPA. And, of course, as a high school coach, we stressed that constantly. Of course, we had to keep them eligible, but we also stressed the grades to them all the time. But you said last night that is probably the number one thing that they look at first, or you look at first.
It is very, very important, because it's a very telling statistic. It tells, can you follow direction? Are you going to do the things that you're supposed to do? I mean, you could look at it and say, if the kid's got a 4.0, he's probably pretty smart. If we try to implement something, he's probably going to pick up on it quick. Right. He's got a good work ethic, So it is very important. And to be honest, the very first question that I ask them is, what's their GPA? Because if they've got a low GPA, because I'm building my reputation too.
Yes.
So I don't want to send someone into a situation and then go back 2 years later and then be like, that kid wouldn't even go to, class. You're done.
Right.
So it is that, and your speed, and it's as important or more important than anything you can do. And it's a controllable thing that you can work with.
Right. Yeah, and you just wish that more of them understood that. I think it's gotten more competitive today as far as all that is concerned. I think kids do take it a little more seriously. I'm out of the system now, so I don't really know, but it seems like that has gotten to the forefront a little bit more about grades and that sort of thing.
So I'll tell you real quick, probably 80 to 85% of the people I work with have around a 4.0 average.
Wow.
So they take it pretty serious.
Yeah. Well, and again, like you said, that's, and I've told many kids this, if you don't have the, the wherewithal and the intestinal fortitude to go to class and make, like in high school, a C average, then nobody's going to be interested in you. That's your work ethic, then they're not interested, I'm telling you now. So yeah, that's a truly important thing. So when a kid, and this may sound elementary, but when somebody contacts you and says, hey, I really feel like I can play NAI football or NAI basketball or whatever, but I don't know what to do. What process, what do you do, and how does all this work out? And then when they're capable of getting an NIL deal, how do you put all that together and get them to understand what to do and how to do it?
So this changes by the day. And as you know, the Tennessee ruling last week and just different stuff, it changes so constant that if you ask me this in 2 months, I probably will have some different answers. Yeah. But so what I do is I first find out what grade they're in. And then I go through all their stats with them, including GPA, height, weight, 40, all that stuff. Right. And then I'll tell them to send me a list of schools that they've heard from, not who they want. Because if they send me who they want, I'm getting a list of Alabama, all this stuff. So who have you heard from? What schools have you camped at? Just different things like that. And then depending on what they've done and what they haven't done, and I'll be honest, nobody has done any of the backwork stuff. Right. Nobody's really contacting coaches. Right. They've been to some camps. Right. They'll get a scholarship. You'll have a kid that has one SEC scholarship, and it's like, well, how do you have one scholarship and it's from the SEC and you've now had it for 7 months? Right. Because you should be able to leverage that into a lot of other stuff. So I can't exactly answer that because it all depends on where they're at in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But the things I said before, like the very first thing and the easiest thing is fill out your recruiting questionnaires for all the schools that you're interested in. And then you try to send some emails to the 3 different types of coaches I named: position coach, director of personnel, recruiting coordinator. If you send it to the head coach, he's probably not ever going to see it.
Right.
And in that email, you're going to attach your huddle film. So as a 9th grader, you won't have anything to attach. But as a 10th grader, you should have something to attach. And here's the truth. If you're going to play major D1 football, you will have varsity film from your 9th grade year, or you're on a very good team, very, very good team.
Yep.
So one of those 2 things. And then it's just a process of building relationships. And I have them include, smaller schools too, all the way, Division II, Division III, because like I said last night, these coaches constantly move around.
Right.
And I guarantee you, if you've contacted the 60 schools I ask you to make your list for and start contacting, and if you start that as a freshman, by the time that was a minimum 180 coaches you need information on. By the time you're a senior, there's probably 100 of them moved around at that point.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So, but that's how I would start, is just trying to get my name out. And then when you get there, a lot of the NIL, I mean, if you're just a tremendous player and you've got no social media following, you can still get some NIL. But to get the most NIL, you want to have as much of a social media following as possible.
Gotcha. Because
outside, and there's 2 different things. You can get an NIL from the school, a deal with them, and then Logan's Roadhouse does one, and different car lots does one. So you can build upon what you get from the school too. It's not only whatever, Ole Miss will give you, or whatever West Virginia will give you, or any of this. It's whatever. When you get to that town, you can also get them too. And if you're good enough, you can get national ones.
Right. Do you, this again may sound crazy, but do you, are you in on the negotiations for the NIL? Do you, how's all that work? Does the school call up and say, hey, we can give you $150,000 a year to come and play for us? Or is that the way it's done? Or how does all that happen?
Again, this changed
right.
tremendously with the Tennessee ruling.
Right.
And this is what the Tennessee ruling changed.
Yep.
So before that, what they would do, they would give you a range kind of what they could do with you. But the NCAA wanted to keep it that it was, school first type deal. So you couldn't really negotiate your deal till you got on campus. Well, now you're already at the school on campus. Things are going. So you have no leverage. You have no negotiating power. And if they gave you a range of, $100,000, which I want to say most of these NIL deals are $10,000 to $15,000. It's not big money, and there's other little things they do that most kids are not trying to find money for food now, but
I think I don't mean to interrupt, but I think there's a misconception out there that you look at, say, a WVU team and you look at some of their linemen and you look at their running backs, and I think there's a misconception out there about how much money they're actually getting. I think a lot of people think, oh, they're getting $150,000 or $200,000. Right. I think a lot of people think that.
Yeah, they do. And the reason is because it's very exciting when you see that a school has given their entire team trucks, or you see that they gave the quarterback a Lamborghini, and things like that. So that sticks in your head.
Yeah.
But most of the time, that is not the case at all. Right. So what the Tennessee ruling did change, though, now. And so we're like 5 days into this. I do not know how it's going to go, but I know one of the kids, he's getting pretty close to where he's going to get some money. And yes, I will be right there with him to go through with what he should get and shouldn't get, because I know what his market value is. And the difference now compared to then is they can just offer the money, and there's no secret anymore.
Right. And
you don't have to take it on the spot. And a kid now will have the power to say, well, I'd love to come play here. Yeah. And at $65,000 is a great offer, but this other college has offered me $92,000 in a car. And it's so now they can actually, and here's the problem. The kids getting paid is not the problem. It's not the problem. They've always been getting paid and always been getting stuff, maybe not to this degree, but it's always been happening. Now it's all on the level. Everybody can see what's going on. And the kids, if you've got a coach making, $1 million a year or $10 million a year, well, the kids should get taken care of too, because most of the kids are not going to make it to the NFL.
That's right.
And some of them, this is all they'll ever get.
Yep, that's exactly right. We were talking about that before when I think Caitlin Clark announced that she was going to go to the WNBA, and my brother and I were talking about it, and said we figured she was making enough or more than she'd make if she goes to the WNBA. Apparently, that's not true, but some of them will. I mean, some of them, some of these guys that I don't know, they sign these big deals, and you hear how much they're getting, and then. They decided to stay another year. Well, there's a reason why they're staying,
and I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see a lot more kids stay there 4 years, because they're getting paid. They don't have to, out of pressure from home or anybody else, they don't have to try to make that jump to get paid. And, it is a surprising scenario what some of these kids go through, and the pressure that's on them. So
I bet it is. I had made a comment at one time. We were talking about how the solutions and all this, and I that once you see the court rulings about regulations and so forth, maybe my ideas not wouldn't hold water, but I've often thought that. And I don't know if this is legal or they've said this, you can't do this or not, but, if the kids, sign a contract, can they say, okay, we're going to give you, $500,000 at the end of your playing time when you leave here, if you stay for 2.5 years. Can they do that?
Well, they could. But typically what they would do is say, okay, we're going to give you a total of $500,000. We'll give you 150 of it your first year, and we'll give you 250 of it your second year. And then it does it that way. And it's in place now too. Let's say that the Country Roads Collective signs a kid. He comes in and he's from Virginia. And 2 days into school, he can't take it, and he transfers back home somewhere. And you've got all these donors that's put into that, right? So now they actually have insurance. And I know the guy, his name's Tyreek Burks. He's an awesome guy. He's smart, knows how to do it. And you pay the insurance so that way the collective will get their money back for the kid, so it's not a waste. Now, and another product they do is, let's say that the player shows up. And he gets out there, he loves it, everything's going great. And in the first week of practice, he has a career-ending injury. And the collective is on the line for $350,000. And if that happens, then, and you have this insurance policy, the collective gets their entire $350,000 back, and the kid gets his $350,000.
Wow.
So what happens now with these insurance policies, you're signing, if the insurance is in place, and most of them are, you're signing guaranteed contracts.
Right. Wow.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize that. That's amazing. It's sitting back and watching all, it's fascinating how it's working. And I know there's, like I said, there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what's going on, what's happening with it. And I've often thought, of course I have a son who plays college basketball, and I've often thought, I wonder how they go about getting these deals. And in my mind, I'm thinking it's just the very best players get these deals. But it's not. I mean, it's all levels get them. And I told him, I said, go to the car dealership up there in Wheeling and see if they'll, throw a couple $100 at you. You never know. I mean,
you know.
Bob Robinson up there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and what they can do, they can have to where maybe a couple players of the team go together. and they ask the local pizza place or the car lot or whatever, would it be worth anything to you for us to come in on a Friday night and sit here for 2 hours, hang out, sign autographs, things like that?
Yeah.
Because most people want to support their local school,
right?
And that gives them a tie-in with it. And the truth is, and I think this is what's going to hurt the universities. Man, donors would love giving money to get players. They don't really care to give money, most of them, to buy a library,
right? Exactly.
Something like that. So.
Yep.
But there's opportunities, and a lot of these smaller schools, they're very creative in what they're doing too. So, I honestly, once the shock of how everything is going is wearing off, I think where we're headed is actually going to be a good thing overall for football.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to get set up to where it's it's fair, it's equitable, it's going to be broken up to where everybody gets a chance. And I think it's going to be better in the end. I think it's going to take a little while to get there. I think some of these old heads like me are going to resist and not like it and fuss and grumble. But I think ultimately it's going to be better and more fair, because I've said for years these kids need to be getting paid for this. They're out there putting their necks on the line, working themselves to death, and the coach is making $3.5 million a year, and they're getting a free McDonald's after a game. And I said there's it's just not fair, and so I think it is ultimately going to be better. I feel certain it is. And no question it's going to be. And this stuff's so interesting. I could just sit and listen to how all
this is
works.
Pretty good.
Listen to how all of it works. And now last night we had a discussion about where you see college football going, where you think it's headed. And I don't expect you to go through the whole diatribe you had to go through last night to explain it to all us dummies that we're trying to figure it out. But give us your take on what you think is coming in college football over the next, say, 5 to 10 years.
So I think the way that we've always seen it go down, where the NCAA has controlled everything, I no longer think that's going to be the case. I think that you have the SEC and the Big Ten has stepped up, and I do think that they are going to try to bring order to everything. Mm-hmm. Now, how much of that order is focused on getting them more money or not is really the variable. But I think that's going to happen. I think that the NCAA, will probably stick around and do basketball stuff and some other stuff, but they will no longer. You're not going to have the death penalties coming down. Nobody's going to get nervous anymore when the NCAA sends them a letter, because they've lost every court case they fought for a while now. And I think what's going to happen, you're going to see more of an NFL type of structure set up to where there's profit sharing and all these different things. And these guys that are ahead of some of these conferences, they're super smart people. Their job is to look out for their conference too. But like the new conference commissioner for the Big 12, he's a super smart guy.
Yes.
He's not, I guarantee you, he is not sitting back waiting to see what happens.
I don't think he's done that at all.
No, he's been out there.
He's been proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure he is now, because Florida State is going to leave the ACC. Mm-hmm. That is going to happen. Mm-hmm. When that happens, I think you're going to see Clemson leave. And I think that Miami, if they could have somewhere to go, they're out. And I think that North Carolina is going to make a hard push too. Now, I don't know that, because the North Carolina legislature is trying to tie NC State and North Carolina together, so maybe that won't happen. And then I can see it might actually be beneficial for Notre Dame to jump somewhere. Okay, so if that happens, now you're pretty heavy in these top two conferences, but now you've got all of the Big 12 and how it sits right now with 16 teams, and you've got everything that's left in the ACC minus Florida State and those couple other schools, which is a bunch of great schools. And so I think they could work together and really form something too. And if you look at what teams are in that conference, you could form a national conference, and it would be fun to watch. Yeah. It would be very geographical. And I think what's going to happen, because you're already hearing, they just settled on a 12-team playoff. Yep. And, and I heard a couple days ago 14 teams. Now today everybody's 16 teams.
Yep.
And they're thinking that 16 team number will be the thing. Now, if they will allow, so I'll be honest, for 2 years I thought the SEC and the Big Ten is going to break off, do their own thing, and if it doesn't benefit anybody else, then they don't care.
Right.
But I think that if they can get to a 16-team playoff, that they will include the other teams too, because there's no reason for them not.
Right.
Because you're going to have more fans interested in the playoff. And that way you're not dividing. You've got Big Ten SEC fans, and now you've got everybody else.
Right.
So I think if they can get up to that number, it'll be more inclusive. Now, is it going to be tough? Yeah, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to win 3 to 4 games to get a national championship now.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be as exciting as the NFL playoffs or better.
And you mentioned something a minute ago that I listened to on the radio today. They were talking about Notre Dame. You mentioned them getting in a conference, and the way the girl, she was ESPN reporter, and she said that Notre Dame kind of led the charge on this idea of a 14 or 16 team playoff. And so it was Dan Patrick show. Dan Patrick said, "So are they trying to force Notre Dame into a conference?" And she said, "No, it was their idea." And she said they're perfectly happy with it being. And she said the way it's set up right now, Notre Dame might be the number 1 team in the country, but they would be a 5th seed in the tournament.
That's right.
And would have to play 4 games. And she said, but they're okay with that because
they're okay.
Yep.
They really value their freedom as an independent.
Yes. Yep.
That's very important to them.
Yep.
And if it goes to 16 teams, there's a lot less pressure on them to get into a conference.
Right.
But if they hold it at 12 and everybody starts moving around again, and if they become afraid that it's going to be SEC, Big Ten totally dominated, that may be the point to where you see them slide into the Big Ten.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you mentioning that they want to be inclusive. I think if you look at the Big Ten, the SEC, and you think, and I've argued this forever, but if you look at the 8th place team or the 6th place team, 7th place team in the Big Ten, and the 7th, 6th place team in the SEC, people would rather see the number 1 team out of the Big 12 playing the number 1 team out of the ACC, because that would be a much better matchup. And I've always said these conferences, I don't care how big they get, these conferences typically have a few good teams. Now they're gotten bigger, so it's more good teams, but they typically have a few good teams at the top, and everybody else is just mediocre. And I think that's what happened in the ACC. I think the Big 12 was like that. But I think all those conferences were like that. I think, you take Alabama, Georgia, maybe one other out of the SEC, and everybody else is, even though they may have the name brand recognition, they're really not that good. You know what I mean? Like a Florida, for example. And so I think, I think a lot of this, but the perception is that the SEC and the Big Ten are the best, and they're going to control things, and they do. But they do have the largest fan base, the most money. You know what I mean? So that's what matters.
Well, what happened is when everybody decided it was about the money, that it really became about the money. It's not just the kids; it's everything. Right. And so what they're really looking at is how can we control the money and still decide how this works out, and it's fair for everybody, because they want it fair, because they don't want to keep. Some of these prices they're paying for these kids is so overinflated. They don't want to keep doing that either.
Right. Yep. And they don't want to alienate tons of fans either. You know what I mean? They don't want to.
Well, right. They don't. And I think also with this Big 12 agreement where they can actually do a contract now, I think if you sign a 4-year contract, that they're going to try to hold you to that team, or at least inside that conference now, just to give a little bit more stability to, roster management.
Right. Yeah, interesting stuff, man. I'll tell you what, crazy times. Listen, we're getting close to running out of time, and I didn't warn you about this, but we do a little segment here at the end with each and every guest, and everybody gets subjected to this. And it comes from my basketball coaching background. We call it Shoot to Three, and what we do is we ask you 3 random questions, and you have 30 seconds to answer them. I have Dave Gorby here, my co-host, beside me. He's a big guy, 6'5", 350, and he comes and caps your knees if you don't answer the questions in a timely fashion. fashion. But we really don't have any rules. We just make them up as we go. But we like to hear what your answers are anyway. So take your time and answer them how you want to. And if you're willing to play, we'll do a little shoot to 3 here.
Let's do it.
All right. If you had to eat and got to only eat one food for the rest of your life, we'll give you vitamins and everything, take care of you. But what would that food be?
A club sandwich.
Club sandwich.
I like that right there.
Jorby, me and you couldn't survive eating just one food, man. I'd be eating your arm.
Right.
All right, Clifford, here we go. Question number 2. If they were going to make a movie about your life, who would play Cliff Hill? That sounds like a movie name anyway, don't it?
I don't know. Somebody that had really screwed up in getting with a good agent.
Tough luck guy.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So my dream, and it has nothing to do with me, is my favorite actor is Clint Eastwood.
There you go.
That's fine.
There
Sure.
you go. That's a good one.
I'll go with him.
All right. I think Cliff Hill sounds like a movie guy's name. Starring Cliff Hill as O.G. Mudbone. Or whatever it would be. I shouldn't have brought that one out. All right. Last one.
Good, bad.
Last question. If you had your pick of a way to die other than old age, how are you going out?
In a very fast car.
Oh, good answer. Good answer. That's the first time we've had that one.
I can see. I mean,
eating a club sandwich, flying down the road.
Yeah.
Saying, make my day.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
It covers all 3 of them. Listen, Cliff, we appreciate it. We'd love to get you on again. I think we've got a lot more to talk about. So much more we could learn from you. And again, as this landscape keeps changing like it's changing, I think it would continue to be interesting just hearing what's going on and how it's all working. So we're definitely going to call you back and get you on again if you'll agree to do that.
That'd be fun.
All right, man. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for making a good show tonight. We really did enjoy listening to all. Very informative, very entertaining. We appreciate you a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cliff Hill takes care of NIL and scholarship monies and interesting stuff.
Yeah, right. Like just something that nobody else does,
Right. And that was kind of what I was getting to, and I didn't want to come out and ask him, but you look like in our area. Do you know anybody that does it around here?
Nope.
Nobody. And if you had a kid that had an opportunity, you're going to have a bunch of leeches around here trying to get in and, benefit from it.
Definitely
and
true.
I just think a person like him that's already established needs to start branching out and
that'd be great. That'd be good.
Yeah, having people everywhere I think would be a good idea. It'd be great for the kids. I mean, because that's the difficult stuff. I mean, especially like the scholarships and all that. You just don't know what to do. And it's like I said, when Sammy went up there, we'd gotten a thing from the university about donating for an NIL program. Well, I had no idea what that was. And I'm like, do y'all get NIL deals?
Well, he told Sammy he has to go out to
You got to go to Pizza Hut.
I was going to say TJ's.
TJ's, yeah.
Generations, yeah.
That's where they all hang out after the game.
Generations?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's going to do it for us.
Do they go TJ's has free popcorn?
They do, yeah. They got good food, too.
Yeah.
Good food.
Dude, I haven't been in Wheeling, and I don't know the last time I've been up Wheeling.
I have eaten at almost every restaurant from Wheeling to Morgantown, because that's all we do is eat out every day, lunch, dinner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna gain 500 pounds if I don't quit doing
And that's
it.
then so there's got to be a lot more stuff up at the Highlands.
Oh yeah, tons of stuff. Yeah,
I mean there was beforehand, but I bet there's a lot more now too.
And I would guess, I mean, I'm sure some of these West Liberty kids, I'm sure some of them have NIL deals. I'll be almost certain they do. So yeah, it's not. I mean, it's for the small timers too. It's not just big time players. And like he said, you'd be surprised that he said this last night. The number of teams where the quarterback may be making $1 million a year, but the right tackle may not be making anything.
Yeah, that you was kind of saying everybody thought they made this and this and this, and maybe the total of all the starters, but
because some of them don't get any.
No.
So, all right, that's going to do it for another Thursday night, another Courtside show. Appreciate you joining us, Gord. It's good to be back together again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've definitely missed this.
Oh yeah, we got to get going again. We got to get consistent.
Yeah, like I said, the memories. It was the down there at Rafford. That was a little over a month ago, or a year ago,
right,
and
Bud Foster.
like I said, we had the gas pedal going down and
Yep.
eased up a little bit.
Yes, we did. But we'll get back at it. We'll get our energy back.
Yeah.
Just take some time
Yep.
sometime. All right. Appreciate you joining us tonight. We look forward to coming to you again next week here on the New River Network. I don't know what Darren else he has going on. Darren, anything coming up here? You're taking a little breather. Basketball season's wrapped up for Darren, so he's gonna chill for a while.
Yeah, I hear you, Darren.
That way we can focus on the show a little bit more. So,
Sure,
all right, that's going to do it for Thursday night. We appreciate you joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week. Good night, everybody.